Welcome to Mission Evolution Radio Show with Gwilda Wiyaka, bringing together today's leading experts to uncover ever-deepening spiritual truths and the latest scientific developments in support of the evolution of humankind. For more information on Mission Evolution Radio with Gwilda Wiyaka, visit www.missionevolution.org. And now, here's the host of Mission Evolution, Miss Gwilda Wiyaka.
Many indigenous prophecies and religious texts point to now as a time of great upheaval and transformation. It's easy to see the upheaval, but what's the transformation? Ultimately, what is our celestial destiny? Mission Evolution Radio TV show is coming to you around the world on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, xzbn.net. With us this hour to explore our celestial destiny is Joshua Reichmann. Joshua is the author of The Realized Light of the 12 Dimensions, Cosmic Rebirthing, and Our Celestial Destiny. An Akashic reader, Pleiadian channel, contemplative therapist, and multidisciplinary artist, he's the director of the film Tenzin, which addresses the struggles of the Tibetans. He's practiced and taught traditional Tibetan Buddhism, holographic recapitulation, psychic integration, and healing at temples, spiritual centers, and group retreats for more than 10 years. His website, joshuareichmann.com. Joshua, thanks for joining us on Mission Evolution.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm honored. Thank you.
So you were going to be in Canada, and now you're in Barcelona, right?
Yeah, just temporarily for the month to see family and, just scoping out the ley lines and all the rest of it.
All the rest of it. Yeah. Good times. So your bio says that you channel a lot of your information. Would you just, for our audience, would you let us know what it means to channel and how you know where you're getting your information from?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think there's a distinction between being a medium, for instance, as I know you know, and channeling. And even with channeling, there's the hazards of, as you said, who or what are we channeling? So the preparation by which we have a purification process, I think, energetically, physically, and, even intellectually about how to understand, relate, and connect with not only a relationship to what it feels like with what's coming through, but to be very careful about what may step in front of something and pretend to be something else. All of that is necessary for the preparation involved in relating to what channeling is, which is really just feeling with the synesthesia of all the senses and receiving data and then, integrating that and offering it back through language.
So the something stepping in front of, I found that particularly interesting. What steps in front of what? And is it us stepping in front of ourselves or something a little more awesomely, spiritually scary?
Yeah, both. I think most of the listeners would relate to the idea of what we project. We're constantly projecting with one another, people are basically just mirrors or masks for our own psyche. And on the other hand, when we develop enough compassion and when we know our own minds well enough, in my experience and studies and just, in being, what we find is we can get a deeper resonant sense of the other. Same with a deeper resonant sense of ourself. So if we're attuned to that, then we can distinguish between, let's say one conjures up this feeling of wanting to open themselves to channeling in a moment, and they make a prayer and hold their heart. And this is all good stuff. If there's something like one of the lower frequency tonal aspects of emotion, like jealousy or resentment or envy, and we all have these, they're just sort of codes flowing through the cosmos that we can either pick up and then hold, or we can let them go. If they create a wobble between us and another being, then not only with a human being will we only see the worst in them as a projection, for instance, because it's the part of us that's the filter, but in the astral dimensions, you'll only receive a filtered being. There won't be a benevolent being, there'll be a parasite. And so that distinction is important.
So it sounds like I like to say the light is only as clear as the window through which it shines. So there's a lot of processing involved to be a clear channel.
It's a constant process. Most people who are listening, maybe they can relate. Everyone has psychic, synesthesia, kinesthesia capacity. We're just uncovering that again, and I know your show gets into that in depth about what's coming and what's been happening for the species. The preparation is essentially usually through trial by fire and suffering. We have to face ourselves in the deepest ways to see that we have these impermanent egos, and then we shed them and let go. We just let go more and more and more and more and come to a core awareness. Your core awareness is God, however you want to say it, just consciousness unfolding, and it's love. And when we touch that, at least closer to it, we're able to get that clear channel. So the preparation never ends because we're always interrupted. We're always in this world. We're in the 3-dimensional and 4-dimensional, for the most part, incoming 5-dimensional world, where we're in friction, right? We're worried about our boundary, our body, our personas, our relationships, our sense of self, how we're seen. And that consistently creates an opportunity to get messy in how we are receiving those imprints, which are actually just pure data, pure information.
On the other hand, I would argue that if we can't be in the messy human condition, where are we channeling to, and what good's it going to do?
Yeah, I agree. I embrace this world full on. And I'm in the trenches and living my life. I have children and relationships, and I make mistakes, and I in process constantly with my own ego and needs and karma and desires and everything, all the way to anger, the whole deal. And we're doing it because we're human. We're doing this work because we have to actually fall back in love with human. And human has the full spectrum. Full spectrum human has all the emotions, all the range, So yes, I agree.
So tell us a little bit more about the benevolent helpers versus demonic entities.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that conversation is so sacred that I'll just say this really quickly. As we have this conversation, every and any time it comes up, we are protected. Every time we spell that conversation into existence, we generate an energy by virtue of even creating the container for either one of those, or any of the beings. So I say that because for me, it's not an intellectual move. It's a move that comes from my energy body field. So when I speak out into, let's say, thousands of people listening, and every one of them should be protected as we speak about this. So are blessed and protected, not by me, but by their own ancestors, energies, and relationship to goodness, however they relate to that. Okay, so there's basically things that feed on the energy life force of the human being and on energy life force in general, which is bioelectric and plasma based, right? That's the soul body, energy body, rainbow body. And it's life force, it's life. And life is sort of, as we know, like a toroidal spin. It's a self-spinning thing that through metaphysics comes into its own harmonious sort of synchronistic form. And yet it's connected to everything else. And in the end, you can't even find one part of it. We're all interdependent. And I'm just saying that in that some beings have very low self-propelling energy. The propulsion of their own life force is very low. For instance, AI will have, as it becomes an algorithm that self-loops into what we would call intelligence, won't have a plasma body, therefore won't have chakras, won't have a connection to other dimensions of full breadth of consciousness. It won't have a feeling body. It'll have a synthetic low bandwidth. Parasitical beings that are only predatory are the same. They need life force because they have low energetic life force. Their chakras, their energy body has been shut down. So, as you know, many people out there know, and they have names for these things, there's a whole retinue of those beings, all the way, down to human beings who are, for the most part, at this point, spliced in and connected. And then you have other sociopaths, psychopaths, beings that are so self-centered, have such low level of love, such low level of empathy, compassion, and connection to earth and everything that they basically are just puppets at this point, And then you have parasites. I'll just end at this on the dark side. You basically just have everything from the size of a galaxy to a microscopic, subatomic amoeba that just needs to eat. It's a predatory cosmos, right? And on the benevolent, positive side, I don't know if you want to take a break, but I could just jam on that for a minute if you want.
Well, we're just about out of time in this segment, but you can continue. And if you're not done, I'll stop you.
Okay, good. Yeah, the benevolent is, the good news, which is that not only is Earth as a seed planet, as she called, is radically protected. Humans are radically protected, both by multiple timeline versions of themselves in the future, by the grace and the beauty and the love of their ancestors. So those who've gone beyond in the quote unquote past, time is an illusion anyway, but in the linear time form, those beings are no longer corporal embodied. They're protected, right? Then, and this is where, get into controversy and stuff like that, but there's the Christ, there's the apex version of the human being. We are forever protected by the highest manifest version. And I'll go into some of the other helpers that come from other planets. So, yeah.
The ones that come from other planets are pretty fascinating. Even though we don't do ETs necessarily on this show, we might make an exception for you.
Got you. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, we're just about to go into a commercial break. On the other side, we will explore more of the entities that are out there that we may or may not want to communicate with. Joshua and I will return very shortly. Don't go away. This is Mission Evolution, www.missionevolution.org, and we're coming to you on the X-Zone Broadcast Center, xzbn.net. Is anybody out there? With us this hour discussing entities and communication and where we get information is Joshua Reichmann. Joshua is the author of Realized Light of the 12 Dimensions, Cosmic Rebirthing, and Our Celestial Destiny. Josh, when we closed the last segment, you had just thrown out a little tidbit about stellar information, things that come to us from people or beings that aren't necessarily on the Earth. Would you go into that a little bit for us?
Yeah. So talking about the terrestrial or other world beings in terms of their planetary origins is not something that's been the place I look. Because most beings that can traverse time, space, and actually get to us are doing so pan-dimensionally, interdimensionally. Now, like we talked about earlier, we have to be careful about who we're connecting to or what, because it's a wild cosmos. It's just so much more wild than people fathom. It's not just 6 different races and some are quote unquote good and bad or whatever you want to say. It's a multifractal emanating realm of beings in many dimensions. Some of them have embodiments like ours. They have dense, cellular bodies that have the similar kind of DNA situation and similar form. But many beings have transcended their basic physical form, and they have what are called like rainbow bodies. They have these energetic bodies that no longer need, the dense expression in the 3D. Yet they can emanate as something similar to us, but they come into this realm essentially through what we kind of understand as like wormholes, interdimensional spaces. And there's long been places on the planet that facilitate that. And people have researched that for a long time. But
Josh, are these ones when they appear to us, can they be seen as angels? Is this what you're talking about?
Yeah, they can, like orbs and stuff like that. Like the big work I do, for instance, in the book, and has been a big part of my practice, is working with the beings people call the Pleiadians. And those beings are like us, filled with joy and humor and wisdom. And I relate them to something like the mixture of like a grandmother and a child's energy. But obviously, they evolved with the hyper intelligence necessary to get them through phases of evolution where they didn't self-destruct. And they're beautiful. So to us, they're quite angelic. And above them are even higher levels of beings that have long since left anything like a relationship to planets and worlds. The Pleiadians care about our actual planet and world system, including actually what we do politically and stuff like that.
So the other realms probably can't be bothered with it because it's so stepped away kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, essentially in the time frames that some beings that have evolved far beyond our comprehension. They work in eons, what's called kalpas in the Vedas and Indian and Tibetan Buddhist understandings. So for them, the time of a planet like ours birthing and being destroyed or something like that, or having multiple timelines of its existence, go through destruction or rebuilding or renaissances and having different civilizations, it's not that important. But we're on a spectrum and bandwidth with other beings like the Pleiadians who care very much about what we do in this galaxy.
So how did you first start making connection with, say, the Pleiadians?
Well, when I was a little kid, I mean, you'll have to take my word for it. It's a funny part about these things. There's no physical proof with any of this stuff. It's just experiential. When I was a little kid, I was left alone in a crib at a babysitter's house. And I remember it distinctly. I read about this in the book. And I was lying down, and I kind of, the way a lot of young kids are in a dream state of fantasy, and it's all very murky. They're in magic. They're in remnant bits of their last life. They're hearing voices. They're sort of in some schizoaffective magical realm, right? I came out of that and I clicked into my own self-aware consciousness. And it was like the same I have now. I didn't have the language I have now, but I was fully aware, and I was a baby in a crib. I was no longer underwater in the murky state that babies are in. I was awake. And as I woke up, there were orbs on the ceiling, different colors, rolling across the ceiling. They weren't lights, they were orbs. They were floating in the room, and they were small. And they were beautiful, and I felt so happy to see them. I was filled with love. I was filled with happiness and joy, and just like I didn't want them to go. And they were extremely familiar. They were as familiar as getting a hug from someone you love, the most person you love the most. And they were giving me all types of information, impression, and it was almost too much for me. And it was all love. And it was a deep amount of information, a tremendous amount. And as they faded away, I was extremely sad, deeply sad. That was the first time. Then I had my life, and lots of things happened, and spiritual growth, and just being a normal person. And at some point in all my meditations and channelings and work, I held my upper heart, and I felt a blue and green like light come into my heart. And I rose up above myself. And then I was in a sort of visual space, feeling space, with those they call the Pleiadians, who are just like a joyful mega bunch of beings who just they answer your questions instantaneously, the speed of thought. There's no delay. You have a thought, they answer it with a humorous, deep little teaching. That's been the relationship since.
That's pretty amazing. So let's move on to what is the role of destiny, good, evil, playing at this time?
Destiny?
Mm-hmm. Destiny, good, and evil.
Well, the way I see it, and maybe you agree, and maybe people out there will relate, there is always choice. We are energy determining choosers. We are completely sovereign. Every single human being in the entire race of human beings on this planet and elsewhere. We are the coveted, most beautiful, amazing template. There's others like us in this galaxy and in many parallel dimensions of galaxies, but we have the perfect blueprint. We're amazing. We are smothered in all types of cords and implants and grids around the earth, the way you would try to enslave or put, let's say, a butterfly in a jar or anything like that. It doesn't change the nature of the butterfly. The butterfly just doesn't know what its natural environment and even what it's supposed to do. So that's the evil in the sense of the low level. On an even more granular level, there's human beings who are being directed without knowing it by the energy propulsion that comes from essentially a black hole in our galaxy, and it flows all the way through Saturn, and then it bounces on the moon, and then it just energizes a control grid. That control grid fuels a negative control, just basically externalizing control. That's how human beings who pick up that energy do. They want to consume, control others, and it extends into every layer of society. That's the evil. And there is a Satan. There is a great I. There is a great, fallen presence in and it's very local. It's very here. It's like a jail keeper.
So
But
is it a matter of what we resonate with, though?
absolutely. So exactly. So that's real in the sense that that's functioning the same way when you're driving, you have to avoid certain things and there could be a crazy person in a truck. Like it's not unreal, but you have choice, you have agency, and you have to wake up and take charge. It's
So
this
then, so then evil can only exist where people are sleeping?
I would say that those people are subject to evil's. Yeah, it's easy for evil right there. Evil's cunning, though. You know, the devil's a liar type thing. Evil's cunning. So even those of us who are inherently good and are awake in so many ways, evil disguises itself as many, many things. So
Well, does evil come from our damage, Josh? I mean, when we get damaged, whether it's this lifetime or ones before, when we get damaged, it compromises our frequency and it compromises our frequency range. So far, so
yes,
good. So,
absolutely.
so does our susceptibility to operating at lower frequencies have to do with our sustained damage over the years?
Yeah, the entire blueprint of the human being has been infused or incepted with all types of viruses, essentially, and the DNA is compromised, which affects perception because our organs, our sensing organs, should be more attuned. They should be more bright. We should see, feel, experience more, but those have been blunted. And so we experience on a spectrum that's quite lower. It's like we're muffled, and our DNA is essentially asleep. So that makes us susceptible to that evil, quote unquote, you're mentioning. Yeah, for sure.
We're about out of time in this segment, but does this dropping into the lower frequency, does that have to do with where we are in the galaxy and in the era that we're in, or the age that we're in, as well as how much available light is there?
I love that. I mean, I like how you're asking me questions that you know so much about. I can tell, but yeah, the era of what people call Kali Yuga is basically just wheels within wheels and cycles within cycles, where on dimensional levels, metaphysical levels that are like complex maps, and physical levels, like for instance, how the Earth, circumnavigulates this sun and how this sun moves throughout the Milky Way, etc., is in a dip. The Kali Yuga is going into dark waters, right? Now, simultaneously, there's new light codes, essentially a new frequency coming from the galactic sun that emanates through all the suns and stars in our galaxy. And we're on an even more tight level. We're coming into a golden age. But the big arc of the next 250,000 years is we go into dark waters to scoop up beings that are less evolved so they can evolve. It's not negative. That's just
Including parts of ourselves?
yes, we have to see everything. So you're noticing, as you know very well, everything that is happening right now is the exposure of shadow. Shadows come up and you're seeing it. You're seeing everything now. So we know that.
Well, it is time for that commercial break. Joshua and I will be right back to continue our discussion. So stay right there. This is Mission Evolution, www.missionevolution.org. Are we waking from a dream or falling into one? This is Mission Evolution, missionevolution.org. With us discussing a cosmic reawakening is Joshua Reichmann. His website, joshuareichmann.com. Joshua, you say humanity is undergoing a cosmic rebirth. Would you please explain?
Yeah, I think it was, thanks. I think it's very much what we were just speaking about, which is that as these cycles and metaphysical wheels and layers of reality basically do their cyclical dance, which takes eons and kalpas of time beyond anything we can calculate, there are stages where we dip into lower frequencies, lower states, denser states, but there are beings there. There are states of existence there, and those include our own. So if you think of your body as a microcosm of everything, the lower chakras, lower aspects of the psyche, those are being exposed now. And as they do, there's energy unlocked. When you discover something about yourself, you get energy unlocked. You go, oh my gosh. And then this big burst of joy actually usually follows the trauma and the drama of facing reality. And that's what's happening for humanity right now. But it's very fast and it's speeding up so much that we're being psychophysiologically, energetically shifted. Any part of a shift will beget a shift in another part. If your body changes, your mind, mood, experience changes. If your mind, perception, mood changes, the body changes. We're no different, right? So as that happens, we're unlocking these staircases within the ladder of the DNA, which is like actual access to dimensional frequencies and light pattern frequencies and the data within that, all the information from beings that have recorded, quote unquote, and received their own relationship to that light pattern. So we're connecting to our family of conscious beings now. That's why you and I and everyone out there is a little more psychic than they were yesterday. But we're blunting it. We don't like it. It feels weird. We're questioning it. We're trying to pin it on synchronicity, or we're denying it, or we're trying to inject things to stop it, whatever. But it's happening. And as it happens, we're coming into concert with greater connection to love in the end. But we're scared. We're evolving.
It's a scary process. So, if I understand this right, the DNA is activated by heretofore absent light. We're moving into a time where there's more light available. Is that what you're saying? And the DNA is being activated now by a greater bandwidth of light.
Yeah, and light and how we understand sound, which is actually form. And, people are really interested in this these days, and it's starting to really take off, how form, light, and the basic geometry of how form and light and vibration, which is just movement and the bouncing between distinct objects of light, creates different spatial orientation. So as that happens, you basically have more complexity. When you have more complexity and range, then your perception, which rides on light and vibration and the geoharmonic sort of dance that is this giant cathedral of activity, which by the way is empty and actually has no form, but that's another story. Meaning it's not substantial. It's just like a hologram. It's like a big hall of mirrors. But as that light bounces around, you have more access. You can see more, experience more, feel more. So that's happening on a DNA level and cellular level, subatomic level, every level, conscious level and sensing level.
And so then is it rattling loose restrictions that we've developed during the time that it was inactive?
Yeah. I think everyone out there can attest to this. Life is very difficult in this world system, politically, socially, economically, whatever. That's difficult. Maybe for some people it's easy out there. I don't know. But it seems generally there's a tension. But the tension is all because of things that are rattled loose, which are basically the old traumatic karmic imprints of our lower nature that have to be seen. They have to be seen to unlock the energy in them. They're like locked up little batteries. If you see the truth, you see the history of humanity, you unlock more consciousness, and then you also unlock more powers.
You also mentioned that there's light and there's sound. Aren't they just the same thing on a continuum? Sound is a lower frequency than light, and light is a lower frequency than, say, radiation.
Yeah, absolutely. And just as you said, there's the spectral range of light, and then there's different frequencies of sound, and they meet up. And they also meet up in both, as we know, through the modern physics, where regular sort of consensus physics got, and then physics that was hidden, is being exposed. We understand that those things meet up on a particle level and also on an energetic wave level. There's no distinction there. Yeah.
Has the rebirth of humanity been foretold, and if so, by whom?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. The keepers of the human story left what in Tibetan Buddhism, there's something called a torma. And there's something called a terma. Torma is a little different. Torma is like a little offering cake. A terma is like a hidden gem you put in the mountains because people aren't ready. And it has a mantra and it has directions for how to see your own mind and the nature of reality. People will go in the Himalayas and hide them in caves. If you discover a terma, that means you were ready / the person being the Buddha that put it there 1,000 years ago knew precisely when a good time to have that information, that spiritual information to detonate would be. The world is filled with termas. Termas come in human form. They come in political movements. They come through animal song. They come through many, many forms and technologies that, as you said earlier, shake loose reality and open us up. So the great gatekeepers of time, like Thoth and Hermes and all these, was the same being, and way preceding them, beings we can't even really articulate, like people do the Enlil and Enki thing, but beyond that, were super cosmic minds that they saw the entirety of the human project. And it's not that we still have free will. We always have choice, but there were signposts left to guide us in many, many directions.
And I find, a lot of the Native American have had prophecies that are actually coming to fruition right now, as well as the Mayans, who were greatly misunderstood. But they talk to the white sun. Well, I'm looking out there; it's pretty white. Um, so
Right.
there's a lot of little breadcrumbs, isn't there, to let us know what's going on?
Yeah, every human indigenous culture knows that right now is incredibly important. It's the nexus of time. It's the end, as you know, of the Toltec Bactun. The last age that was recorded in a calendar is between 2012 and 2024 or something like that. And that's the end. And then there's the new sun, time of the sixth sun, and all these kind of things. And the quality of light changes so much that there's no way to record human history anymore because we aren't what we were. And the Great Fire and all the things that people foretold is here. But is it going to look the way people think in a Mad Max cartoon version? It's not. You're safe. You're going to be okay. I don't come with a message of fire and brimstone, run to the hills and get your weapons. I already tried that. And the truth is, what you realize is that, just as you said earlier, your own perception will guide you into frequencies and timelines on this very earth that protect us from the most acute suffering. But it's up to you. It's up to you to feel that love and follow your intuition and your inner guidance and your new capacities. Feel. That's it. That's what my Cherokee elder said the day before he died, before the pandemic began. Can I say that word? And and he said that he died. He checked out right before it happened. And the last thing he said to me, as he did, he said, "Don't stop feeling," because that's what they do. They want us to stop feeling.
Well, our heart tells us something our mind cannot. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Speaking of mind, tell us a little bit about the mind stream.
Thank you. I make distinctions in the book between just what you said, which is the innate knowing of the heart. And it's a cliche, but it's true. The heart, when activated, if anyone out there has had their heart activated, truly activated, it never turns off. It's not the same as being sentimental. It's not the same as just having empathy or pity or sympathy. It's that you have deep cosmic compassion for all living beings, but it's no BS. What one wants from that heart beam that comes out of us, once that's activated, is you want people to wake up. You want people to see reality, see through the veil, socially, culturally, worldly, but also how this realm comes to be. You want them to wake up and evolve and become enlightened or whatever. And the mind stream is our ability to cognize and use information to create forms and holograms in our mind to track how to navigate the form realm. And so your mind stream is like you and I are having a mind stream centric conversation right now and using sounds and syllables and sort of emanating things. But we could also have a heart conversation, but it's hard on TV to do that with the time constraints. So they're different.
So, when you mention compassion, what comes to mind for me, and I've experienced it, I'm sure you have, is as we drop into that place of compassion, it's very painful because of what's been allowed to happen with the children, with the animals, with the planet itself. It's you drop into compassion, you look around, and it's like, oh, it hurts. And don't a lot of people then just bounce right back out of there because it's too painful?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's called the knots. Our heart is knotted up. It gets knotted in the womb. We come in with that. Some people not. Some people come in with a blown open heart center, and it's very hard to live in this world. But don't confuse the heart with the solar plex, the feeling space. People drop into their feeling place and they go, I can't stand the feelings of this world, because they're looking and experiencing in their feeling body. It's a solar body. It's a light body. It goes, oh, this is too much. I want to contract. The heart is connected to the entire cosmos, and it is the most courageous, strong thing there is. Love never dies. It's not because of feelings. It's not because of ideas or others. Your love is beyond any subject, right? It's just there.
Well, we're going to have to take yet another station break. Please stay with us as Joshua and I continue to explore the realized light of the 12 dimensions. This is Mission Evolution, www.missionevolution.org. Is our DNA changing? If so, what are we morphing into? This is Mission Evolution, missionevolution.org. We're continuing our discussion with Joshua Reichmann. His website, joshuareichmann.com. Joshua, how are the cosmic shifts stimulating our DNA and Kundalini energies?
Well, I think it's what we were touching on a little bit before, which is we have this perfect template. We really have everything. People have, known this for, 40,000, 50,000 trackable years, that we have these chakras, which are essentially gates to all dimensional, experience. And we have what are called nadis, which are these sort of smaller portal openings in the body, which are sort of run along the meridians. And you have this energy body. Basically, it's sort of like overlaid or underlaid in the gross material body, where you have all the circuitry of just being a human. You have blood and bioelectric movement through the cells and the mitochondria, and you have life. But the subtle fields are getting expanded and extending out, and we have more energy. The purpose and the point of all the things we were talking about, which is basically that as the shadow is exposed in a psychic level, our psychic lives as human beings, and as that DNA is spiraled and actually more quickly, it's actually activating in movement more quickly, not only in capacity where there's more of the proteins that actually connect to one another and all those physical aspects, but it's actually moving more quickly. Everything is moving more quickly. This cosmos, or this galaxy alone, let's just say this universe, just in this level, is expanding, and so are we. Why would we be different? If things are expanding, why would we be not subject to that expansion? So we are. So we have more consciousness, more experience, more perception. And this is what you mentioned earlier. The quality of light is pushing that, is moving that, is making it happen. So I'm not sure if that got to it. There's a lot more about DNA, but yeah.
And DNA is a very deep subject.
Yeah.
How much more? One thing that's been coming to mind for me, mind, there you go, is that we've just about reached our capacity to understand the reality that's coming at us with
Hmm.
the way we think right now, with our brains right now, with our sensory systems right now. Do they indeed need to morph and change in order to keep up with that rapid movement you're talking about?
Absolutely. The way you and I are speaking now in linear, Arabic alphabet glyphs, that have all this mutated syntax and all this social conditioning in it, and there's such deep armors and things between you and I actually connecting. Is what will happen next is that using our organs in the way we have before will be very taxing once we're in contact with how to subtly transmit and receive energetic imprints. So what I do, and people can check this out if they want to work with me, is I help people remember or come back into contact with the Akashic records and their ability to channel. But really all that is deeper levels of feeling, trusting, knowing, intuiting. It's blending your senses, which is what's coming next, which is that we'll be able to fly soon. We'll be able to do a lot of things soon. You're looking at athletes even now. You're looking at people, how quickly people actually relate, even through emojis and things like that. That's a very silly way that's a very, kind of dense version, but it's going to get like that where thought forms will be transmitted between people really quickly. You don't need technology to do that. We are the technology. We're waking up to it.
It looks like we have some exciting times coming, right?
I think so.
So, Josh, it's about that time in the show, and I get to ask you, what's your mission?
Oh, it's a great question. Well, my Pleiadian name is Klexil, which is bringer of the codes. I'm merely supposed to be on shows like this and writing books and speaking, communicating and teaching, sometimes wrathfully, sometimes sweetly. I have to bring the information while I'm alive about what's happening in this cosmos, in this galaxy, to the planet and to humanity.
Beautiful. You mentioned how our chakra system and everything is starting to upgrade. It's starting to get more active. Do you find, or do you believe that just our physical presence as we're moving through this evolutionary time, if you will, if as we're personally evolving? Is there a communication that goes on with people just because we're there?
Absolutely. Direct transmission. We don't need to talk necessarily. The process of an energy body awakening and being in proximity with one another, you can create monads and groups, and you can channel and connect, and you can heal the earth. You can learn about the actual earth's history. You can connect to star people and benevolent helpers in our celestial family, especially when we're together. When we're together and our hearts are open and we're relaxed, relax your nervous system, get out of fear, get into trust and, connection just naturally by being. There's so much we can do, and we're going to receive all the information about how to build and work in unity as individuals.
Whenever two or more of you are gathered, right?
Exactly.
So what is that power? What is that power of more than one? 1 + 1 = infinite.
Yeah. Well, every body is like a circle, and we're a perfect circle. We're a toroidal sort of self-looping thing. But if you look at it in sort of a 2D plane, it's like a circle, and that circle is complete. So when you have two circles, you suddenly create that third energy, which is that sort of oval shape. And then you add another, and people are very familiar with the flower of life. What we want is for people to resonate with their own completion, their own wholeness. When you remember that you're loved, you've always been loved, you always will be loved, that you are loved. I know it's trite, but that's really what it is. When we feel that, don't just think it, when we really relax and know that, we are complete, and we are a complete circle. When you move in with another, you create a third energy. That third energy can manifest anything.
As we move more into those combined energies, does it bring up more for us to clear? And how clear do we have to be in order to participate to start out with?
Yeah, I'll be really honest. I have an awakened psychic partner, and I've had a partnership before that with someone who both happen to be female, love and relationship. And if our 3D needs and tensions and daily stuff gets in the way, and we're already linked on a spiritual, psychic, multidimensional, multi-life level, then we are in for fast, painful clearing. People call that twin flame, whatever. It's going to be a rough ride when we bring our egoic selves and our selfishness into that. And we're all going to, because like I said, we're still in the 3D. We still have dense bodies. You still have tissue. So when you have tissue, you have issues. And so that's just how it goes.
Tissue issue.
Yes, so.
Yeah. So, what is the realized light of the 12 dimensions? That's just a little question for you.
Yeah. That wholeness we mentioned before. So it comes back to, and it's the same as every spiritual tradition. They're just using old vernacular. They're using the Bronze Age gods. They're using ones from Atlantis, technologies and self-worshiping, or you go back to Mu, whatever. Everyone knows that there's the totality of the cosmos in resonance, and it's inside of us. We are it. If you resonate and relax and be and truly just feel in a relaxed, open way and observe, you're the witness mind. That's the realized light.
Witness is a huge thing, isn't it? Because otherwise we're just doing knee jerk from our damage versus being present.
Totally.
Yeah. So how can the individual best participate energetically in upgrading this realm?
So, like most people, this journey can't be, I offer this, the journey can't be bypassed. You can't just get into magic, or I don't really use the word magic, but like these extrasensory powers, quote unquote, or capacities without taking care of the vessel. We're inundated with poisons. We don't know how to live. Our families were all messed up. We don't know how to relate. We don't feel safe in society, blah, blah, blah. You got to start with feeling strong and safe. And it doesn't matter if someone is incapacitated in a wheelchair, or they have what they think are chemical mental issues. One has to start with the embodiment, because the bioelectric feedback in your actual dense physical body must become at least attuned, and the nervous system relaxed, your endocrine system relaxed, and your mind patterns must get focused on things that are at least altruistic, positive, forgiving, and kind a lot of the time. Then we can expand and open up to the next level. And what people can do is start taking care of themselves no matter what's happening in their family and their relationships and around them. It's that dignity, that divine pride of sovereignty that's going to get everyone to evolve quicker.
Sovereignty, that's an interesting concept, isn't it? In other words, we have to focus on being whole within ourselves before we can contribute to the whole.
Absolutely. Period.
Well, that kind of sums it up. It also sounds like there's a heck of a lot of detoxing to do on the physical level.
Big time, all day, all the time, and re-upping on things that'll fix our cells. This light, this new energy pattern, this relationship we have to each other, to this galactic and cosmic family is wonderful. But there is nothing coming to save us. We're like little cilia. We're like little antenna on the earth. And every one of us is responsible. Even though we're getting this great upgrade, it could cause a lot of people to actually expire because it's too much info. So they just flop out and die. So what are you going to do? Get attuned, get toned, attuned, and ready. And it's not about being tough. I've been tough. I do martial arts. Be tough.
Well, it's that time. Unfortunately, we are out of time.
I'm into all that stuff too.
Joshua, thank you so much for coming on the show. Our guest this hour has been Joshua Reichmann. His website is, joshuareichmann.com. This has been Mission Evolution with Gwilda Wiyaka. For more information or to enjoy past archived episodes, visit www.missionevolution.org. But most importantly, be sure to join us right here next time. This mission will continue, bringing information, resources, and support to a rapidly evolving world.